Hi friends, let's continue our education on the topic of the small intestine, and we will be talking about natural treatment for the small intestine for the disease such IBS, IBD, celiac disease, post-viral or post-bacterial infection. This lecture is 9A, part 2, continuation. And if you have those symptoms, this lecture is for you. So this part 2, continuation of part 1. In part 1, I said it is paramountly important to treat underlying cause. Try to identify the food that creates the problem. In case of IBS and IBD, 99% of the people have this condition because of the food. It's a good idea to do a diet diary or food sensitivity test to identify the food or foods that actually create the condition. In case of celiac disease, just eliminate gluten and do anti-gliadin antibody test. For post-viral infection and bacterial infection, take a probiotic L-glutamine and treat symptomatically small intestine. By the way, in previous lecture, I finished with the words, treat symptomatically. That creates a lot of question in people. What do you mean to treat symptomatically? So let's go and look what do I actually mean treat symptomatically. Small intestine has a 3 function: digestion, endocrine, and absorption. You're looking at the picture of the normal small intestine, villi and the deep crypts, tall villi and the deep crypts. Those villi are lined by the cells that do the function. The cells will produce digestive enzymes. The other types of the cells will produce hormones that will regulate other organs' function. And eventually, the absorption done through villi and the food that get broken into smallest particles will get absorbed from the digestive tract in the bloodstream. In the previous lecture, I said that digestive function, you can kind of substitute with digestive enzymes. You can see on this label that there are digestive enzymes in this supplement. However, there is no supplement to substitute endocrine function of a small intestine. So that's why I said treat symptomatically. So let's look further onto endocrine function of the small intestine. It will produce secretin, which will regulate production of gastric acid or hydrochloric acid, regulate of production of pancreatic bicarbonate and osmoregulation. CCK is responsible for gallbladder and pancreatic contraction when the food is in the small intestine. Enterogastron inhibits production of hydrochloric acid and the motility of the stomach. Now, looking at this picture, guess which organs will be involved is endocrine function of the small intestine is impaired. Here we go. So secretin underproduced, so production of hydrochloric acid is dysregulated. Pancreas production is dysregulated. Osmoregulation is a regulation of the small intestine itself. CCK impaired production. Gallbladder does not work appropriately, and pancreas. And enterogastron is, again, dysregulation of the stomach. So here on the right, you can see the picture of the small intestine in case of celiac disease, where those villi are not tall and crypts are not deep. So you can assume that the amount of the secretin and cholecystokinin that produced by the cells that's supposed to produce is not going to be there. So as a result, you can assume that functions of those organs will be damaged. So we are talking about stomach, we are talking about pancreas, bile and gallbladder, and we are talking about small intestine itself. Now, let's go to the blackboard and talk about how it is happened. Once when you know how, then you will know which organs and how to treat them. So let's go. As always, I already pre-draw my favorite picture of the digestive tract. This is the mouth with the teeth. You put food here. Esophagus. This is the stomach. This is this, by the way, between the stomach and the small intestine pylorus. This is the small intestine right here. And this is the large intestine. Food is going out right here. This is the liver with the gallbladder. Gallbladder collects the bile from the liver, stores that, and when the food comes into the digestive tract, it will throw bile here into the small intestine. Here is the pancreas. P stays for pancreas, will produce pancreatic enzymes that will help to digest food further. Now, the small intestine is damaged. Let's assume that we produce insufficient amount of secretin. The secretin will send the signal how much hydrochloric acid you need to produce in the stomach. So recall, stomach will produce hydrochloric acid, HCl, which will dissociate immediately into hydrogen ion and chloride anion. This hydrogen ion is responsible for pH, or will create actually pH. And when the food is there, it will be too very acidic environment in the stomach to digest the protein. So secretin is diminished, so you don't regulate production of hydrochloric acid. At the same time, secretin is responsible for production of the bicarbon from pancreatic gland, and bicarbon comes here into small intestine and responsible for creating a pH here in the small intestine, and it is actually neutral. It creates neutral environment, pH 7. In previous lectures, I talk about that a lot. pH 7 is the pH in which pancreatic enzymes work the best. They can cleave the food. Also, when you create concentration gradient, pH 2 in the stomach and pH 7 in the small intestine, that's the signal for the pylorus. Open, pylorus get open, food will go from the stomach into the small intestine, pylorus will get closed. If you don't create concentration gradient, pH 2 here and pH 7 here in the small intestine, pylorus remains closed, food stays here for a long period of time, stomach is churning, where the food will go, and by the way, this is the esophageal sphincter. Food will go out of the stomach into esophagus and will create acid reflux. So this is the problem when person has a damage to small intestine and the secretin is not produced adequately. CCK, responsible for contraction of gallbladder and pancreatic gland to make sure that pancreatic enzymes are thrown out here into small intestine and bile comes here. When the CCK production is not adequate, what happens? Bile comes from the liver, stays here, it's not thrown out completely into small intestine, stays here, creates sludge, then creates sand, and eventually stones get created. Also, you don't throw out into the small intestine enough a bile, which is responsible for breaking down the fat. Fat is not broken down, fat is not absorbed, fat is going out here into the large intestine. What do you see clinically? You see a fatty stool, okay? And also the gallbladder gets larger and larger because the bile stays here, everything backs up into the liver, person will have symptoms of the liver. We will talk about how to treat that. Enterogastron is enzyme, not enzyme, the hormone that produced by small intestine. It tells the stomach, stop producing hydrochloric acid and stops churning. If it's not produced, hydrochloric acid is produced, stomach is churning, everything is moving. Where everything is moving, pylorus is closed, everything is moving here into the esophagus and creates acid reflux. Okay, now guys, let's go back to PowerPoints. Okay, let's start to treat stomach, pancreas, gallbladder. I have several lectures on this topic on liver flush and liver cleanse. When the bile is standing here, And because of the lack of secretin, there is no supplement for secretin, but at least what you can do with liver flush and gallbladder flush, you can make a gallbladder to contract. So do gallbladder flush. In this video, I talk about different types of the liver flush or gallbladder flush. Please learn before you go ahead. And in this on this lecture, I'm talking about functional liver disorder when actually gallbladder is full and bile backed up. So it becomes lazy liver. Liver doesn't want to produce any more bile. Look at the lecture 15D, where I talk about the different supplements and foods that you can do to regulate the production of the bile. So pancreas is affected. Take a pancreatic enzymes. Also, probiotic is a good idea because of they will help to digest the food. So I have a separate video on this topic. Now, we are back to slide number 1. When you were looking at the slide, you were thinking, oh, this Dr. Veronica, she throws every single symptom here. Gas, bloating, acid reflux, everything under the sun. Treat the symptomatically. Every symptom, guys, has a meaning. Look at that. Gas and bloating. What does it mean? You're watching my YouTube channel. Understand that. Gas and bloating means that the food is not digested. It stays there. As a result, it becomes rotten. So you need to help digestion. How do you help digestion? You take digestive enzymes, either pancreatic enzymes or small intestine enzymes. Next, constipation and diarrhea means that food goes there, it irritates. So, and as a result, the small intestine tries to get rid of that faster, creates osmotic diarrhea. Do the diet diary, food sensitivity, see which food creates this problem. Next, nausea, sour taste in the mouth, and steatorrhea. Those are the problems of the liver, right? I said when I drew the picture, bile that's supposed to be there in the small intestine to break down the fat, if it does not do the job, a person will have a fatty stool. So also bile back up into the liver. Nausea and sour taste are symptoms of the liver. Treat the liver with liver flush. Flatulence, again, means the food is not digested. Take the probiotic with the prebiotic. When there is a lot of flatulence, means that there is a lot of gas in the small and the large intestine. Okay, it means that abdominal pain. And finally, acid reflux. When I talk to people about acid reflux, they say, oh, I have an acid reflux. I ask, what was the first symptom? Was it acid reflux or actually IBS was the first? And the person will say, well, I have problems with the small intestine. They already been there for 10 or 15 years. And now I started to have acid reflux. That means that original problem was in the small intestine. You have to fix the small intestine before you address the acid reflux. You can treat those symptoms of acid reflux naturally with herbs or supplements. You can take a drug and suppress production of hydrochloric acid. The effect, long-term effect, is going to be negligent, or even worse if you take the drug, because you are going to move even further away from the health. Address the problems in the small intestine. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. In the description below, there are all links how to contact me, how to organize a presentation. If you have any questions, ask me question below, like, subscribe. If you need a health coach, contact me there through my website. Bye-bye for now.